In this lesson, we're going to introduce you to the order by clause, which is the clause that allows you to sort your result set based on some criteria. Every time we introduce a new clause, I show you the general form of your SQL statement. So we've talked about the select clause, and we'll just generalize this as select column 1, column 2, all the way up to, column 2, all the way up to column n, however many columns you want to specify. Or you can interpret that as select star. The next line we talk about is the from clause, and so we specify a schema.table name. We talked about the where clause. We're specifying a column name, and then some comparison operator, and then some filtering criteria, whether that be a date, a string, a number, doesn't matter. And I'm going to skip 2 lines because the order by clause is actually the last clause that we write in a SQL statement. We're going to talk about it now, even though it's the 4th clause that we've introduced, because there are the group by and having clauses that go actually before the order by clause in your SQL statement. They're a little bit more complicated, and I feel it's easier to introduce the order by clause first. For now, think of the order by clause as just following the where clause, but when we start to write SQL statements that have the group by and having clause in there, the order by will actually follow them instead of coming before them. So the order by clause, again, that allows us to sort our results based on some criteria. So we can sort our results by the column name, so order my result set by this column. We can actually also sort by what's called the column ordinal, which I'll explain in a second. And we can specify the column alias, which is that if I were to say column 1 as some name or some alias, I could specify that some alias in the order by clause, and I'll explain why we can do that. After you specify the column name, ordinal, or alias that you want to order your results by, you're going to specify either ASC or DESC for ascending or descending order. The ascending descending option specifies the order in which that particular column, ordinal, name, or alias will be sorted. So let's look at a first example here, and let's just say select first name, comma last name from the view sales.vindividualcustomer. If we look at it now without any ordering, we get these results. When we run this query, this is what we get now. Unordered, these are the results. We can ignore the where clause for now. Let's just say we want to order our results by the first name column. So we're going to say order by first name. Now, I don't actually have to specify ASC if I want the rows sorted in ascending order, in this case by the first name column. If SQL doesn't see either ASC or DESC, it automatically assumes ascending order. Okay, so that's the default ordering method. So that's how we order by the column name. But what's that column ordinal? Well, this first name column in the select clause is the first column listed. The last name column in the select clause is the second column listed. So if I wanted to now order by the last name column using the column ordinal, I could actually just say order by 2. And when I execute that, you'll see that the rows are ordered by the last name column in ascending order. So I didn't have to specify the actual name of the column. I could just specify the order in which that column appears in the select clause, or its ordinal position. We also have the ability to sort our results based on a column alias. So if I wanted to change last name to as, say, customer last name, if I remove the order by clause and execute this, this is what it looks like now, seeing customer last name as the alias for the last name column. Now if I order by customer last name in descending order, when I execute that, I don't get any errors. If we tried to use the where clause and say, instead of where last name equals whatever, and we said where customer last name equals, it would give us an error. The order by clause allows you to use the alias, the ordinal, or the column name directly in that clause. Why is that? And that's a unique point to bring up. We write our SQL code in this way. Select clause, we have the from clause, we have the where clause after, then group by, having, and order by. Okay. So no, we haven't talked about the group by or having clause, but this is the order that we would write our clauses if we used all 6 of them. SQL, when it's evaluating the code, actually evaluates it in this order. From, where, group by, having, select, order by. So this top 6 rows, 6 lines, is how we write our SQL code. But these bottom 6 lines is the order in which SQL evaluates the clauses. So if we look at this, the select clause is evaluated before the order by clause. So if I had an alias, or if I wanted to specify ordinals, the order by clause actually understands the aliases because SQL has already interpreted and parsed out the select clause. But if I wanted to try to use the alias, for example, in the where clause, the where clause is actually evaluated before the select clause. So by the time the where clause is evaluated, it's not even aware of any column aliases. It's not aware of the ordinal position because the select clause, according to SQL, when it's being evaluated, hasn't actually yet been specified. So this little subtlety is why we can use the column ordinal or the column alias in the order by clause, but we can't do that in any other clause. So if I were to try, just for example, select first name, my last name from sales.v individual customer view, and let's give last name an alias customer last name, and I were to say where customer last name equals Zimmerman, it's going to give me an error. Because at this point, the only thing that has been evaluated by SQL is the from clause. So by the time it's evaluating the where clause, it doesn't recognize any alias, so it's saying there is no customer last name column in the sales.v individual customer view, therefore I'm going to throw an error. So that's a little subtlety that gives us some nice features in the order by clause, and I want you to be aware of why you can do it there but not in any other clause. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about how we can order by multiple columns in the same SQL statement.